Register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Wednesday. It is May 27th, 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. Minneapolis is unsettled this morning, and that's putting it lightly. Yesterday, in the aftermath of police killing, the horrific video of this police officer, 4 police officers killing George Floyd, the people, despite the pandemic, they didn't care. They took to the streets and they seized, or at least they were able to get into the parking lot of a police precinct. I believe that police precinct is the one that the officer allegedly came from. The primary officer that you saw in the video putting his knee on the neck of George Floyd, killing him. Those 4 officers that were involved have all been fired, but that is not justice. That is not justice. Justice, like I said yesterday, and I took from my friend and my sister, Anoa Changa, justice is not killing us in the first place. And so thousands of people, if you see the video, you see thousands of people, black people, white allies. I just, thank you to all of the people who put their lives on the line to show this system that we're not taking this anymore. We're not. We can't. What reasonable person would allow themselves to be brutalized by a system constantly and never do anything about it? Never. I wrote a piece, or at least I presented a piece to The Guardian, and quite honestly, I knew when I submitted it that it was going to be a little too harsh for them to publish, and so I'm not saying this by any measure to insult The Guardian, because I plan on writing for them again. But the piece that I submitted yesterday, I doubt that they run it. It's about black people defending themselves, because what do you expect us to do? Honestly, think about this. White conservatives, when they are just in the slightest way inconvenienced, they pick up their guns and they go to the Capitol and they challenge the entire power structure, and the entire power structure genuflects before the rage of white conservative men. And yesterday, we see how this system responds to unarmed protesters. No weapons. All it was angry black men and women and their allies protesting, throwing rocks, one picture showed a chicken being thrown through a cruiser. But yet this system responded with a brutal crackdown, tear gas. Rubber bullets, people being knocked unconscious with rubber bullets. The Gestapo came out in full force. And it is it is the most reflective of the differences in America when it comes to being black and angry and being white and angry. This system bows before the anger of white men, and it seeks to crush the anger of black men and women. You can't help but notice just 2 weeks ago in the same city, you had protesters go to the Capitol with weapons. Because because America is saying the best thing that we could do is self-quarantine and wear masks. But this is what they do. They were so angry because they were told to wear a mask that they went and they shut down their state government. They challenged it directly. And what did police officers do? They stood there as though nothing was happening. They stood there and stared at the office. They looked like the guards at Buckingham Palace. They didn't budge. They didn't flinch. But as soon as they got a chance to open up a can of whoop ass on niggas, they let it all out. They let out all their rage, all of their anger. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what color the cop is a pig, regardless of the color. Black, white, Hispanic, other. A pig is a pig, and we saw that last night. And if you expect to come to this program and demand that I show some respect for the police officers, then you tell the police officers to show some respect for us first. Show some respect for our lives, and then maybe we will show some respect for your so-called authority. But until such time, you have no authority over us. What do we look like authorizing police forces to have authority in our communities when they abuse that authority? They have historically abused. There has not been a case, a year. There has not been a day that a police agency across this country has not abused the authority and instituted a police state in black communities. And you want respect from us? You're nothing more than swine, nothing more than pigs. And you don't deserve our respect. We do not fear you. We do not respect you. You're small men with big guns. But even that doesn't stop the will of the people who refuse to be subjugated by your tyranny. Talk about tyranny. White folks, white conservatives think tyranny is being required to wear a mask for their own protection and for the protection of other citizens. Meanwhile, they say absolutely nothing, or they try to find a way to oppose and justify, rather, the crackdown and the police state in black communities. This is America. America is not just the abuse and the police state in the black community. America is the stark contrast, the arrogant, the unmitigated gall to allow us to see on a regular basis how police treat white folks versus how they treat black folks. In New York, if you didn't wear a mask and you were white, police officers were officer friendly, handing them out, looking like they were something straight out of Mayberry, off the Andy Griffith show. But if you were in a black neighborhood and you didn't have a mask on, it was something straight out of the Gestapo, something out of Stasi land. And this is the daily contrast that we have in this country, and yet nobody seems to notice. The president of the United States is more worried about his Twitter timeline being fact-checked than he is about black people being killed by the police officers or the disparate treatment that black people receive in this country, yet he wants to pretend like he gives an actual damn about getting black votes. Conservatives have a quagmire this morning because here until this point, they've been acting as though they actually give a shit about black people and that it was the Democrats that are the real racists. And don't take this the wrong way. These are Democratic cities and these mayors need to be held accountable. New York City Mayor de Blasio, if you're too afraid to confront the police agency in your state, then you're dealing with a gang. You're dealing with a paramilitary force that you're afraid to hold politically accountable. You need to do something about it. But if you juxtapose it to what the Republicans are actually trying to do, we don't have any help anywhere. Neither party is here. Neither party is here for us. Republicans are really sweating it out today because they don't want to lose the opportunity to make it look like the Democrats are the only racist. And so now they're trying to suppress their inner police brutality, or they're trying to find a way to equivocate this man dying at the hands of these police officers. We're trying to be like, oh, well, even if, what's the Dinesh D'Souza? You know, I don't care what color you are. First of all, a pig is a pig regardless of what color they are. Just like that, a racist is a racist no matter what color they are. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, indigo. Dinesh D'Souza could not make a statement about this man dying, George Floyd dying, being killed by the police officers without talking about how black people commit more crime in this country. Motherfucker. You goofball looking propagandist ass motherfucker. If you can't look at the violence that's being perpetrated against black people in this country without trying to find some way of assuaging your inner racist, then you're no better than the pigs who killed George Floyd. And not a single one of you, not a politician, not the president, not the mayor, not a single police officer. I don't care what color you are. Not a single one of you deserve our respect or our civility. Matter of fact, you do not deserve our intelligence. You are not worth the time that it takes for me to find a better way to express my rage other than saying, F the police, F the president of the United States, F the mayors of these cities. Every single one of you bastards that are responsible for the police state that has been present in the black community throughout our existence. You don't deserve our respect, and you certainly don't deserve our votes until you crush into a pulp the root of white supremacy in this country.
What's it going to take for you guys to be okay tonight and to stop this chaos?
It ain't me. It's not me. I'm going to let y'all know that now. It's not us guys neither. And I'm glad that y'all said that. It's not us. It's the police. This the madness that they spark up. This is what they encourage. This is what they provoke. This is what you get out of you taking a loved one from someone. This is what you get. You get a lot of people that's hurt, and they can't vent the right way. They can no longer depend on the police to be here to protect us like they say they gonna do. So this is what you get. And no, it's not gonna end today. I can't tell you it's gonna end tomorrow. I don't know when it's gonna end. But it's for y'all to start. We not the ones that's killing us. Y'all killing us. We can't make a change if y'all don't change.
My God, that was a young man, a protester back in Ferguson. I guess 2014. I don't know that young man's name, and I don't know where he is today. But I know, man, he spoke for a whole generation of people. And the absurdity of it all is that because there is intercommunity violence, conservatives and some Democrats want to use that as a way of use it as a whataboutism. A whataboutism to ignore the fact that there is state-sanctioned violence in the Black community on a level that would not be tolerated if America saw it happening in a state that they wanted to overthrow, quite frankly, because they see it happening all the time in Palestine. We have a police state in this country. We have always had one, and the Black people of this country have been subjected to it relentlessly. So that young man spoke volumes. He spoke truth to power. I don't know who he is, and I'll try to, maybe if you know that clip and you know that person, I would love to see how he's doing now, because the passion in his voice is something that should be promoted as well as protected. There's a lot of angry people around the country, justifiably so. What I do appreciate, I honestly do appreciate it. Every white person that I see putting their lives on the line side by side. I want to just acknowledge you. Thank you. Because for many years, it was just the smallest amount of people, 1 or 2, maybe 3 white people who would put their lives on the line. One such woman actually just passed recently. She died of COVID-19, Sarah Rowley. She was a freedom rider who was arrested in Mississippi. And if you see her mugshot, she looks like she gives 0 Fs. Nothing was bothering her. Nothing was fazing her. She put her life and her body and her future on the line because of what was right, to fight for justice. And looking at the videos last night, you can't help but to see that there's a lot of white folks out there and non-Black folks out there. And you know what? That's solidarity. Solidarity isn't retweeting us. Solidarity isn't bringing us on your podcast. Solidarity isn't, high-fiving us at a Bernie Sanders rally. Solidarity says that when there's an injustice against us, that you show up ready to fight just like the rest of us. So solidarity. So yesterday, I'm not sure if it was in the public show or the patron show, I covered the story of Joe Scarborough's secretary, or not, she wasn't a secretary, she was a congressional aide that died in his office, and Donald Trump manipulating the information, and the husband of the woman who passed away requesting that Twitter do something about it, that Twitter take down those tweets. Twitter hasn't taken down those tweets, but Twitter has done one little something that I think is worthwhile. And I want you to see exactly how aggrieved, how much conservatives dwell and weaponize grievance politics. In response to Donald Trump's tweets about mail-in ballots, which he used himself in 2016, in response to his tweets stating that mail-in ballots are equivalent to fraud, Twitter began putting fact-check links just below each and every one of those tweets. And that has to be, that to me is the best compromise. You talk about a compromise and a solution, that's a pretty good compromise. You want to spread propaganda and you're the president of the United States, then the person whose platform you're using has a responsibility to make sure that the rest of the world is not propagandized. Like, at least they had the opportunity to find the truth. It was a pretty low barrier. It wasn't some magnificent thing, but it was a solution. It was a good solution. Yet Donald Trump went on a tirade discussing how it was a violation of his First Amendment rights. It's a violation of freedom of speech, and that Twitter is now trying to stop progress, trying to intervene in the 2020 election. Look at the scale. Look at the response. Donald Trump, in response to a website, I don't even know if it's worth showing the hypocrisy, because the hypocrisy is the thing, right? Weaponizing hypocrisy is the thing. They know full well that they're lying. They weaponize lies. This is all part of the strategy. The thing that matters really is who's going to give in. Because if you continuously give in to people who weaponize lies, people who weaponize grievance politics, right? And then in this case, we are dealing with the president of the United States. So his words carry a far more significant impact than we could ever imagine. There are people who are ready to go to war with Twitter. Thankfully, Twitter, you know, their servers are probably protected by small military. And the people who want to go to war with Twitter probably wouldn't even know what a server was. Okay, but these people are ready to respond at the drop of a dime because the president of the United States has successfully weaponized grievance politics. He's weaponized lies. He's weaponized propaganda, and he's weaponized his hypocrisy. And he does not give a shit about any of it. He doesn't give a shit about what history is going to say about him. He doesn't care the damage that he does to this country. All he cares about is serving his ego. And the most terrifying part about this is that this type of mentality and behavior has now become baked into American politics. It has become standard operating procedure, and it is something that will be repeated with the next candidate. It would be repeated with the next conservative. It would be repeated with whoever can weaponize it. Hell, we've seen Democrats begin to weaponize the same behavior patterns as Republicans. That's what's terrifying. How do we as a country actually survive when we have successfully weaponized hypocrisy, propaganda, and grievance politics as a means of protecting the most powerful people on the face of the planet? I don't know that we actually do survive it. Patron party up next.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Here we go. At this point in every single episode, I'd like to take a moment to thank our newest patrons without whom this show is entirely impossible. Very special welcome to Michael Cohen. Thank you for becoming a patron. Mika Smith, thank you for becoming a patron. Francis Hasso, thank you for becoming a patron. Sam Pendleton, thank you so much for becoming a patron. Drop. Mark N, thank you so much for becoming a patron. CBP Film, thank you for becoming a patron. Dave Barta, thank you for becoming a patron. My sister, my real sister, and her daughter, Kim and Graceland, thank you for becoming a patron. Make sure she does not listen to the unedited version, ever, all right? And Daniel Skolzen, thank you so much for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show, twice the show. None of the ads, uncut and unfiltered. I did that out of order, but you know the routine. Commercials right here.
Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Yep.
Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.
All right. Yeah. Yo, here we go. He thought I was going to do something. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some other news. I want to share a clip that was compiled, mashed up by Courier at Courier Newsroom on Twitter, where they focus on policy, action, issues, and people. And what they've done is they have mashed up propaganda. I want you to see exactly how thorough propaganda has control over the United States of America. Quite frankly, the entire globe, but you know, we're American centric. So listen to this mashup of basically news reporters reporting as though it is news what's happening at Amazon. But when you see that this is being reported across so many different news stations, this is just 11 of local news stations reporting on Amazon as though it's genuine reporting, but what they're doing is reading the same exact script. Take a listen in.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Amazon has transformed its operations in response to COVID-19 to protect employees and keep packages flowing.
Amazon has transformed its operations in response to COVID-19 to protect employees and keep packages flowing.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy while still delivering those packages to your doorstep.
The company is keeping employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy. The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
It spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
It has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
It has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
It has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
Amazon says it has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
Every single one of Amazon's workforce of nearly 1 million people has played a critical role in making these changes happen.
I hope that they feel that passion that we have for safety,
so they can stay safe and healthy while you do too.
What chance do we stand in this country when one company has that kind of power? And don't get me wrong, it's even worse than that because multiple companies have that kind of power. Billionaires have that kind of power. They have the ability to send a single message and demand that every single news station that has some kind of that they have some type of control over, even if it's just advertising. Hell, Amazon could probably pull this just by the amount of online advertising they spend, like just what they spend on local News 11, their website, how much they're going to spend advertising on their website. Amazon probably has enough pull to get this done without even batting an eye. What chance do we stand? The only chance we actually stand is exposing this over and over and over again without fail, without giving up, without ever throwing in the towel. That's the one thing that John Nichols said on the show last week. If you count that interview, is that how dare we, like we can't give up just because we may not get the victory in our lifetime. We got to hand the baton over to the next generation. So the best thing that we could do is continuously show as many people as possible how much propaganda is just around us. We're inundated with it all day, every day for the purposes of serving the politically and economically powerful in this country, the ruling elite, the oligarchs who sit in the pantheon of billionaires and rule over us, not only through controlling our labor, not only through controlling our consumption, but controlling our minds with nonstop propaganda. The best thing that we can do is to be aware of it. And if we ever get the opportunity, make this kind of shit illegal. We have to. We absolutely have to. And yet then we also have to fight against the courts, because I'm quite sure the courts are going to say that this is some type of freedom of speech. And since Citizens United corporations are people, and they have a right to freedom of speech, and that means spending their money, as much money as they want to influence politics, as well as the thinking of the body politic. All right. I need you to see how insidious this system is. The Justice Department has closed insider trading investigations into 3 senators who sold off stocks following early briefings on the coronavirus, says NBC News. Or aides told NBC News. A spokesperson for Senator Kelly Loeffler confirmed that she had been informed that the Justice Department had dropped inquiry into her trades and called the allegations politically motivated. This is a quote from her. Today's clear exoneration by the Department of Justice affirms what Senator Loeffler has said all along. She did nothing wrong. This was a politically motivated attack. Okay, whatever. Just more propaganda there. But the DOJ is still investigating Senator Burr, right? They dropped the probe against Loeffler, Inhofe, and Dianne Feinstein, but they're still investigating Burr. Federal prosecutors are still investigating stocks sales by Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina in advance of a coronavirus-fueled share price plunge. but they are dropping investigations of such sales connected to 3 other senators. Aides for Loeffler, Inhofe, and Feinstein confirmed to NBC News, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's not as important. Here's the gag. Senator Burr is the only person in that conversation. Well, watch this. Let me parse this carefully. There was absolutely insider trading, particularly by Burr, Loeffler, and Inhofe. This is not to protect Dianne Feinstein because she's a Democrat. No, I don't even like Dianne Feinstein. But if you read the actual facts, the merits of what is the case, Dianne Feinstein sold stock that would have made her more money in the pandemic. Okay. So even if fine, charge her. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Charge her. But what was done here is that Donald Trump has rewarded his political friends, right? And he's leveraged a Democrat to do so. And he is still going after a political rival in Senator Burr. Even though he's a Republican, Senator Burr has opposed Donald Trump in his crackdown or his all-out assault on the intelligence community. He's one of the few Republicans that has pushed back against Donald Trump's assault on the intelligence community, and Donald Trump doesn't like that shit. Keep in mind, the DOJ is now a fully politicized arm, if it has been anything else other than a politicized arm, but they are completely under the control of people who have sworn allegiance not to the Constitution, but to Donald Trump. Okay? And so Donald Trump using this as a means of punishing his political rivals is par for the course. And it should be expected, quite frankly. But this is how, I mean, it is actually politically brilliant because now, you know, what are Democrats going to do? Are they going to put Dianne Feinstein under the gun here, right? So he gave the Democrats, and even though underneath it, the stories are not equivalent. The stories are not equivalent at all. Dianne Feinstein lost money, and the rest of them saved millions of dollars. Kelly Loeffler probably saved billions because that's how much she's worth. They saved a shitload of money because of insider trading. But this is the scale. I mean, how many people are going to take the time to understand the nuance of this story and to see how this is not only rewarding a grievously bad behavior, and bad doesn't capture it. I mean, this is rewarding sociopathic behavior. People who have the responsibility of taking care of this country and the citizens using an opportunity of classified information instead of warning the people about coronavirus, they use it to protect their own financial interests. So it's the most insidious behavior that you can imagine. But they did that. And not only is an insult to injury in terms of what they did to the people, but also because of how Donald Trump is leveraging this to reward his political friends and to persecute his political rivals. Now, you're not going to see me shed a tear for Senator Burr. Really don't quite give a shit about him. But the truth of the matter is that this is just another significant milestone in how Donald Trump is seizing power and abusing power. Trust me, even though he's president, there's far more power for him to seize. And he has been doing that. He's been doing that through the federal judiciary. He's been doing that by requiring people to make loyalty oaths to him. And the people around him, all the yes men, some of them are just yes men because they want their checks and they want their access to money and power. And then some of them are yes men because they love the idea of Donald Trump being the dictator in chief, because people like Stephen Miller absolutely love the cruelty of President Donald Trump. That's my music. We got a lot more show to go. Patrons, stay tuned. The music continues after this. Everyone else, go to patreon.com/the BPD show to get access to the other half of the show. Patreon.com. Everyone else, if you can't do it, that's fine. I still love you for being a beautiful audience, and I will see you next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.